Your goal list is keeping you stuck. As someone who has spent the past year no longer setting goals and releasing the idea of focusing on my reality, I have changed my life in the best way possible. I have more than 3x my income. I have more than 10x my following. And I'm going to tell you, it did not come from setting a goal. In this video, I'm going to explain to you the exact shifts that I have made and give you step-by-step examples of what this looks like to release the idea of setting goals and instead make a decision. As someone who has spent almost 15 years studying everyone from Joe Dispenza, Abraham Hicks, Neville Goddard, I can tell you at the core of what we call manifestation, what we call quantum leaping, collapsing timelines, is an internal decision that has nothing to do with what you have on your goal list. Most of us have goals. We have this idea, we have things that we would like to see manifest into our lives. We are trying to reach our goals. We might use a vision board. We might use an actual goal list with a plan. It doesn't matter. It is time to throw that away in the trash and start tapping into decisions. Why? When you set a goal, you are essentially telling your subconscious and conscious mind that we are going to try to attain this thing. Everything that you do tied to that goal is going to be from the energy of trying. I like to put this in 3 buckets. We've got a vision, a goal, and a decision. As you're listening to this video, I want you to pay attention to the things that you desire, which bucket they're in. Let's talk about vision first. You can have a vision for your life. It's the thing that maybe you see when you do a future self visualization, but you don't really believe if or how it's possible for you. But if you could have a magic wand and someone said, hey, you get 3 wishes, you have a pretty clear idea of what your vision would be for those 3 wishes. And it's not yet a goal. You don't actually believe that you have the capacity, the resources, the network, the finances to be able to set that as an intentional goal, something that you're actually going to try and do. It's just a big picture vision. That's bucket 1. Bucket 2, we've got actual goals. These are things that even if you don't know exactly how yet, you believe in some way might be possible for you. You might have a little fear around them. You might say, oh, I wonder if I could do that. That would be so exciting. And you're still in trying energy. When we talk about setting a goal, it is something that is outside of ourselves. It's something that we're trying to reach for. And there can be either I reached the goal or I did not reach the goal. So here's what happens every single year. People set new goals for the next year, typically based on what you've already done the year prior. So, okay, I made $10,000 last month in my business. My goal this month is to make $15,000. That is very realistic and is following a sequential timeline, right? And so you could set that as a goal and then maybe you might hit 12K and you'll say, okay, I got a little bit closer. I'm not at my goal yet. I'll try again next month. I am telling you to throw that entire thing in the trash. The third bucket, the bucket that I've started embracing this past year, is to make a full body decision. A decision is I am no longer trying to do something. I am no longer hoping to do something. I have decided that this is already mine. I'm going to show you this video in case you haven't seen it. That's going to show you the moment I made the decision to 3x my income and 10x my following. Because I am being delusional to the point where I'm going to 10x my following. I am going to 3x my income. I had no idea how, but I simply decided that's just who I am now, that I am not trying to create that result. I have already 3x my income and I have already 10x my following. When you embrace a decision, you are no longer trying to create a plan for it. You are no longer asking yourself how. You are instead asking yourself, who is the version of me that is already on the other side of this decision? How do they show up? What choices would I make? Wouldn't I make? Most people, when they go to set out to do something, you're still acting from your current, aka your old identity. That identity cannot come with you to where you are going. That big vision that you have in your mind, you can decide right now that it's already yours. So when you set a goal and it's from your current identity, it's based on your current fears, your current belief on what is or isn't possible, your current physical resources that you can tangibly see. When you make a decision, a full body, this is just who I am now. This is what I've decided to do, be, and have, and I am not paying attention to anything externally that tries to tell me differently. That is when you get to move from the version of you, your future self, that is already on the other side. And guess what? When you start showing up as that you, the world moves to meet you. You simply cannot create a future from the identity of your past. That is why so many people start off really excited about their goals, especially in that new year, new me energy, and we get so excited. And yes, I can do this. But one, you set a goal based on your current identity, meaning you set a realistic goal. And two, by February or March, you're already back into your old patterns or identity because again, you have set a goal, something that is rooted in the old identity. A quantum leap, meaning the moment that you go from where you were to where you thought you had to try to get to in rapid speed and in a speed that doesn't make realistic sense, happens when you choose to show up with that decision energy. You start choosing from your future self and not the historical data that you have to tell you who you've been up until this point. When I first started this YouTube channel, I decided that I was going to have 10,000 followers in less than 3 months. And guess what? I did it. Not because I set it as a goal, but because I decided that was already who I was before I had any physical evidence. The moment I started posting on YouTube, I was paying attention to the numbers and the metrics, and I saw myself going into vision and goal bucket, meaning that I was seeing the vision of, wow, I could one day have 10,000 subscribers, and then moving into, oh, it's a goal of mine to actually reach 10,000 subscribers in this time frame. And then I had a moment of clarity. I had a moment of deciding from the version of me already on the other side. What would it look like to start filming, to start showing up for this channel as the me who already has 10,000 people that are ready and excited to hear from me every single week? That one internal shift shifted everything, both internally and externally. Within 3 weeks of making that internal decision, my channel went from having about 100 subscribers to having over 10,000 subscribers. That is not a coincidence. I started taking this not as something where I was dipping my toe in the water to see, oh, I wonder if I could get a few subscribers on YouTube. No, I already have an amazing community and platform. And so I invested in the ring light and the uplights and making this space a space that I would show up as if I already had 10,000 subscribers when there was only 100 or 200 people watching. I had to make decisions and act from the version of myself who was already on the other side. A very tangible example of this is I had an opportunity to sign up for a subscription where there are tools like YouTube Buddy as well as vidIQ that give you metrics and analytics. And a lot of YouTube content creators will talk about how they use this to understand their channel and be able to have videos perform even better for the YouTube algorithm. And they had an option for a monthly plan that was around $20 a month or an annual plan that was going to be over $200. I had a choice to make. I could do the monthly plan, but I knew by choosing the monthly, I was subconsciously saying to myself, I actually am not sure if this is going to work out. So let me just try it out and see what happens. But the version of me who already is a YouTube content creator with thousands of people on her platform, she would have signed up for the annual. And so guess what I did? I signed up for the annual plan. And it's not even so much about the money investment. It is the choice that I made was from a decision, not a goal. What decision have you not made yet that you are still acting from vision or goal energy? How can you start to shift into decisive decision energy? Making decisions for my future self is how I was able to have my first over $100,000 a month in my business. It is how I was able to 20x a business investment. It is how I was able to attract the relationship of my dreams and my now husband. And it is responsible for every big leap, every quantum jump, everything from the external world that would seem like, wow, how did she do that so fast? Came from an internal decision first. I'm going to share with you multiple examples of how I've done this and how you can start to do the same. And before I get into that, I want to share with you today's sponsor, Skillshare, who I'm so excited to share with you because I have used Skillshare to embody that next level identity decision self. I recently took a few classes on Skillshare that allowed me to step into my next level identity self and make full body yes decisions. If you don't know already, Skillshare is an online learning community with thousands of classes on every topic related to creativity, business, personal development. I have taken multiple classes on the platform and I truly love the community that they've curated. Because when you're stepping into that next level self, that future self identity, and making decisions from that perspective, you need tools to support the gap between where you are today and where you know that you're going very soon. One of the decisions that you all have probably heard me make is that I already have 100,000 subscribers on this YouTube channel. That is not a goal. That is not a vision. It already is. I'm not attached to if or when it's going to happen because I know it's already done. As I continue to grow and be more and more intentional about the content that I'm creating in this channel, the environment that I'm filming in really matters to me, which is why I recently took this class by Simon Ferretti on how you can transform any room into a content studio. On Skillshare, I was able to learn about how to analyze the space that I'm already using, how to position, camera setup and lighting, how to design a background, tips on audio, and it really has helped me understand how I can really take this to the next level and show up as the person who not only has 100,000 subscribers, but 1,000,000 subscribers and is a full-time YouTube content creator. This isn't me trying something out. This is me deciding this is who I am now and elevating my external world to match it before the subscribers come on my YouTube channel screen, because I have decided that this is my truth. And so I'm acting from that identity and using tools like this class on Skillshare to bridge that gap. Another decision I am fully anchored into is that I am a globally known speaker, that I speak on stages in front of thousands of people, and that is part of my full-time work. So when I saw this class by Miriam on speaking with confidence and public speaking and communication basics, I decided to lock in, because while I have experience speaking to rooms with hundreds of people, there's always more to learn. This class talked about how to connect with your audience, how to boost your confidence, what to do when you forget things, how to structure your speech, using body language and eye contact to create more connection with the people listening to you, how to reduce filler words, and really utilizing your voice in a more impactful and powerful way. This is what I mean by making identity-based decisions. I'm not setting a goal to become a world-renowned public speaker. I have decided this is who I am now. And so if this is who I am, I of course am always going to be perfecting and improving my craft. These classes become the tools to bridge that gap. Skillshare makes it so easy because whatever you're stepping into, there is a class for it. Whether you want to grow creatively, improve your communication, learn editing, write better, organize your life, or just build your confidence, I want to encourage you to check out Skillshare. And the first 500 people to use the link in my description below or scan the QR code will receive a 1-month free trial of Skillshare plus 20% off your first year. If you are anchoring into your 2026 decision and identity, this is the moment to start building the skills that match where you have decided you're going. Okay, so what does this look like in real time? And more importantly, what does this look like for you? You are going to make one identity-based decision. What does that mean? What do you want? Not what do you think is possible for you, not what you think is the next reasonable, logical step. But if I right now said to you, hey, you get a complete blank slate. You get a fresh start. Nobody knows you. You don't have to appease anyone. What do you want? Now, here's the caveat. Some people will hide behind years of fake confusion, not admitting what they truly want because of fear of failure, because of fear of being judged, because of fear of looking dumb. But you know what you want internally. And admitting what you want does not mean that you actually have to go and decide that you're going to go and create that thing. But we can't get to what you are capable of creating without you being willing to sit in the uncomfortable truth of your truest desires. So just for a moment, I want you to step out of your reality and step into your delulu bubble. You've got a magic wand. You get 3 new chances at life. What would you want to do, be, have, experience? That is your starting point. And then from there, decide what within that energy, within that frame of reference would be really fun and exciting to create right now. Not from a place of, I need this thing to happen for me to feel internal happiness, but deciding if I tap into internal happiness, joy, bliss, without needing to focus on external circumstances, what would be the cherry on the cake? What would be like, wow, wouldn't it be fun to do that? Some examples of this for me have been, I have decided that I am a New York Times bestselling author, not because I need the New York Times to validate that I am a good writer, that my work is of value, that my words of value. I've already decided that internally first, but the decision anchors me in that truth. And I start showing up here. I start showing up in my daily life as the version of me with that NYT bestselling author energy. That shifts into what I do and don't tolerate, what I do and don't allow, what I do and don't say about myself, about my capabilities, about my self-worth. A decision will have a ripple effect in every single area of your life. Here's the thing though, I'm not asking myself, how am I going to do that? I've never written a book. I don't have right now millions of people that follow me to ensure that it would reach New York Times bestselling status. No, I've decided it is already so. What are you willing to use as your anchor, slightly delulu decision? Because that one decision will create a domino effect in the identity shift for your entire life. I'm actually doing this work right now in my inner circle group where we lock in for 90 days and do a full-on, full-bodied delulu decision sprint. They set up to 3 delulu decisions, i.e. I'm going to triple my income. I am a New York Times bestselling author. I am a TED Talk speaker. I got a new job with double my income. I am in the best relationship of my life and am now married when they start off completely single. And guess what? We're only 2 months in, and when I tell you guys the wins that this group has been having internally and externally, we each don't recognize each other in just 2 months alone. This has come from decision energy. These are just some of the wins that this group has been sharing about how they're shifting, what they're uncovering about the stories of who they thought they were, the self-imposed limitations that they've been living under, and how they are now free and released from those to tap into the version of them who gets to decide. This is just my life now. I'm actually going to be doing this again at the start of January for another 3 months with a new group. If you want to tap in and join us in Inner Circle, click the link in my description to fill out your application, and I would love to see you and the version of you who has decided on the other side. Okay, so once you've made a decision, you have to identify what is the old pattern that can't come with you where you are going. And what does that decision represent in all of the micro decisions that you probably need to start making in every area of your life? I'm going to give you some example of when I have made delulu decisions. When I first started my business, I decided that I was going to have a full-time business that made hundreds of thousands of dollars a year. I had absolutely no idea how that was going to happen. I did not come from a trust fund account. I did not have investors. This was all me figuring it out piecemeal by piecemeal and moving from I am trying to grow a business, I am hoping that I can grow a business, to the energy of I've just decided that's who I am now. I remember my very first year of business, I was still in that trying energy, and it was kind of working, kind of not. I would make $500 one month and then $1,000 the next month and then back to $500 and then maybe $2,000. And I saw these little glimmers of hope, but it wasn't enough to be a full-time supportive income yet. And I realized that internally and externally, I was straddling the fence. I was still setting it as a goal to reach a certain dollar amount per month. I had not shown up as the version of me who has decided this is just my reality now. I was doing this in big and small ways. One of the ways was how I talked about my work and my offerings. I would kind of say, oh, if you're interested, click the link in my bio. I was not sharing from the perspective of believing that I truly had something of value that could help other people. I was kind of hiding in the background, hoping that people would knock on my door and come running and ask me. And guess what? They didn't, because I was not in that decisive energy. Once I started showing up online, whether there was one person watching or 20 people watching, as the version of me who has decided that my words have value, that my work is of value to someone else, that I can be paid to show up with all of me and the gifts that I've been given, my income started to reflect that. Some of you may know my background is in brand marketing, and so I had a lot of experience understanding business, marketing, messaging, sales strategy, but actually running a business where I was the face of it was a new skill set, and it was kind of uncomfortable for me initially. I was very used to being the consultant behind the scenes, supporting other businesses with their strategy, but now that it was my turn, I had a lot of fears come up, and I was in that vision/goal energy. I remember around this time when my income was kind of vacillating, but still not at a point that I could call it full-time supportive income for the cost of living in the city I was living in, I came across someone who was sharing a program on how to really structure the back end of business. And I knew that this was a skill gap that I needed to fully anchor into this type of business model where I am the face of the business and we are an online only business. I needed to understand a little bit more about what did that look like from a tech point of view, from an automation point of view. And it was one of my weaknesses in business. I remember seeing this program and really resonating with the creator, but as soon as she got to the price and she said $18,000, I was like, oh, guess I can't afford that, because I definitely did not have $18,000 in any bank account, and I hadn't even made $18,000 in my business yet. But I could not stop thinking about it. And something inside of me had that feeling of excitement and also absolutely terrifying fear. Here's what I know though. In my past experiences, whenever I felt excitement and fear, that was my go sign. Now, I did something that I'm not going to recommend as a blanket thing for everyone to do. And before you get in my comments talking about this is bad advice, I'm not giving you advice. I'm telling you my personal lived experience. I, after a week, could not stop thinking about that program. And I knew it wasn't the program that was the fix, but I knew putting myself intentionally in a space where I was going to be around people who were taking their business seriously, who were having conversations about finances and numbers that at the time felt really big, but making them normal was going to shift something inside of me. And so I made a decision. I made a decision to invest in this program that I didn't have money for on a credit card. It seemed absolutely delusional, probably to people on the external world, because I had no proof that I was going to make anything back as a result of making this investment. Before I pushed purchase, I said to myself, this is going to be a drop in the bucket in comparison to what I'm going to create as a result of making this decision. Again, it was not about the actual course or program. This was not a one-on-one program, by the way. This was just a course. It was about the energetic decision that I decided to make in that transaction. And for the first 3 months, there was no ROI. And then guess what happened? Less than a year after making that decision, I made over $400,000 in my new business. I don't think that's a coincidence. And here's what I would say. I also am not going to glorify the program and say it was all thanks to the program, because there's many people that paid the same amount I did for that program and did not get anywhere near that result, if any result at all. The difference was that was my anchor of my new decision. I decided that this was not the thing I was going to try out and hope that it helped me. I decided that this was me embodying an entrepreneur who makes hundreds of thousands of dollars in her business every single year with ease. Another example of this, I did this for my love life, where I got tired of being on the dating struggle bus. And so I started to anchor into, what is the decision I want to make? I decided what type of partnership I was already in. How did it feel to be in that relationship? How did it feel to connect with this person, to be seen by this person? How did it feel when we disagreed? I got really clear on what that felt like, and I decided that was already my reality, that I was already on the receiving end of that type of partnership. And you know what happened? I had to make some really uncomfortable decisions. I had to start saying no to romantic interests and relationships that once I would have said yes to. But do you know what happened? As a result of me anchoring into that decision of showing up for myself first as the version of myself who was already in that partnership, I attracted every single thing on that list in my now husband. When you make a decision internally first, the external world moves to meet you. And the quicker that you align that decision with the integrity of how you show up for yourself when people are and are not watching, shifts everything. It is not enough to say, I'm going to try this thing out. I'm going to kind of hope and pray this works out. You have to decide. You have to be absolutely delusional with faith that not it's happening, that it is already done. Making these quantum leaps can feel really big, and it can bring up a lot of emotions when you start acting from your future self. Because again, as we've probably all heard before, it is a lot easier for us to choose a familiar hell over an unfamiliar heaven. And so initially, when you start making a decision, and thereby the micro decisions that go along with it, it will feel uncomfortable. Your subconscious may be like, hey, we don't do this. What are you doing right now? But you just got to keep going to the gym, meaning you've got to keep building the evidence that this is who you are now. You are the person who talks up first. You are the person who takes up space. You are the person who shows up online, offline, as if thousands of people already need and want exactly what you have to offer with the world. Because every time you choose a behavior from the identity of the version of you who's already on the other side, you collapse time. Time is made up, guys. The fact that you've been watching this video for 10, 15, 20 minutes is a made up concept. We have all agreed on it to create structure and harmony amongst us as human beings. But at the end of the day, this idea that it has to take a year or 5 years is a complete lie. I 3x my income and 10x my following in 30 days. And then I did it again 30 days later. I built a mobile app from concept to actually having it in the Apple Store and Google Play Store in 2.5 weeks, after so many app developers told me that was not possible. And when I was building this app, the Bravo Life Delulu Sprint app, I had to act from the version of myself who already had an app in the stores with thousands of users. And guess what? In less than 60 days since we launched, we hit over 5,000 users. If you are ready to quantum leap, if you want to stop waiting, if you want to stop trying, if you are ready to release the idea of setting goals and stop fixating on what you can see, smell, taste, touch, hear in your current physical reality and start tapping into the reality that already exists of you on the other side of your old goal, I need you to make identity-based decisions. Start with one, start today, do the uncomfortable thing. Once you make an internal decision, it is going to require external action and embodiment that is aligned with it, and it will feel uncomfortable. Old friendships may not feel the same. Partnerships may not feel the same either. The way that you show up in your business or what you used to call your side hustle has got to shift as well. I would love to hear from you in the comments. What is one decision that is based on the identity of your future self that you're claiming right now that you're going to step into, that you're willing to anchor into and decide this is just who you are now? And if you want support with this, if you want to do this in what I think is one of the best spaces to get step-by-step personalized guidance in an intimate container, I would love to see you inside of Inner Circle. You can fill out that application below. I hope this video was helpful. I cannot wait to see what you create by simply making a decision and releasing your goals. And I look forward to seeing you on the next video. I read every single comment, so please drop them below. And if you haven't already, be sure to hit subscribe and I'll see you on the next one.